Okay, recording is up. So whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and queue up for a game, and then we can talk for a little bit while you're in queue.
Okay.
So, first off, how long have you been playing Overwatch for?
Started 2017,
Okay, so
like
for quite
towards
a
the
bit.
end. Yeah, for a few years. It's actually my first PC game.
I push to talk. Okay, so, you seem like you're pretty low level for having played for a couple of years. Do you play inconsistently, or is this an alt account?
Oh, this is an alt account, yeah.
Okay. What kind of, just so I have some reference, what level is your main account at? Kind of experience wise, not rank.
Experience-wise, I'm level 700 and something.
So it'd be like silver border.
Oh yeah, silver border.
All right. Game. You're in a game. Let me spectate real quick. Keep talking for a little bit until the game starts.
Welcome to Blizzard World.
So second thing is going to be, how consistently lately. So let's say past week, couple of weeks. How often have you been playing the game?
Oh, with this quarantine going on, I'm playing like 8 to 10 hours a day.
Okay, and then without quarantine, let's say before or you're kind of expected afterwards, is that going to change?
Yeah, going back to work or whatnot. Usually I'll play like an hour after work, and then on the weekends is when I'll play for like 8-10 hours.
Okay.
5, 4, 3.
And then final thing is, do you have any questions
Attack commencing.
about like
no.
coming into the session? Do you have anything you want to ask?
No, I watched your video with I forgot the streamer's name, so I have a general idea of what to expect.
Okay.
Under the ledge.
Barrier is not stable. Barrier no longer
This will restore you. Not yet. I'm under attack. This will heal you.
Okay, so few different things right off the bat. Oh, I'll wait till you update that again.
Curious. Restoring you.
So whenever you're out of resource, your #1 goal should be to get that resource back by damaging. So whenever you're not healing, right click needs to be held so that you're getting damage in.
Okay.
Okay, you don't want to be sitting at 0 resource all the time.
I'm restoring you.
And then we'll go for tap healing after next fight.
Focus with me. My will made real. Surrender to my will.
Heroes never die.
Okay, so tap healing real quick. Tap healing, because Moira has a heal over time effect where if she heals somebody, it will keep healing her to save and conserve resources. So unless somebody's critical, you're probably not going to want to just hold healing on them because 1, that'll conserve your resource, and 2, it'll actually get more healing out of the resource that you're giving because it's going to be healing over time. So when somebody's not critical, just tap heal them because then they'll get the heal over time effect.
Okay.
This will restore you.
Okay, when you're healing people and you're swapping in between, like you're swapping from damaging to healing, I want to see you putting yourself in a position that's safer. So when you are not actively shooting at people, there should be no reason why they should be able to see you. So get around the corner, make sure you're behind your tanks. If they can see you, that means that they can shoot you, and you don't want that to happen if you're just healing up your team. So duck behind the corner real quick, just make sure that you're safe. So pay attention to your surroundings is another big thing. Since Moira doesn't require a lot of mechanical skill, you're going to want to pay attention to what's happening in the fight. Pay attention to your team. Are they critical? If nobody's critical, then you can probably just start going in and damaging people.
Okay.
You're going to be on Moira, you're going to have a lot of tap healing, damaging, and then if somebody's critical, you keep on healing them. So if they're just down a little bit of health, you tap them, let their health come back up, and then in that meantime, you go ahead and damage, because Moira's around like 50-50 when it comes to damage and healing. You're gonna be doing a lot of both. Yeah, you're pretty far back in that fight, so I might have wanted to see you a little bit closer to your team, but then also the other thing is you had nobody pushing cart, which typically is going to fall to one of the supports, so if your other support is not on cart, make sure that you're going over to cart.
Okay.
Repairing the damage. This will restore you.
Yeah, make sure that just because you're going in to damage people doesn't mean that you're running in front of your tanks. Let the tanks push forward and take space.
Yeah.
That's their job. Your job is to support everybody and add in some extra damage and maybe clean up kills, but you shouldn't be pushed forward ahead of your whole team, because then what that means is you can't see behind you and you can't see who needs healing if you're in front of everybody, so you can't swap to healing if you need it. And then the second thing is that's going to mean that you're in extra danger of taking damage and dying if you're on the front line.
Okay.
Get into position. I require assistance.
Keep in mind you also can fade to cancel Ash's dynamite, so if Ash hits you with a dynamite and you're not in immediate danger from and you're not going to need fade for another situation in the immediate future, then it might be smart to just use fade to get rid of the dynamite. Okay, so in that situation, when somebody's 1 HP, the priority might be to just kill him so that your Sigma's not being launched off the map. So if you kill him faster, the real danger there isn't that he dies to his ultimate, it's that he gets pushed off, and the faster you kill him, the less of a chance there is for that. So kind of identify the situation and then adapt accordingly. That's going to be a lot of Overwatches, looking at your surroundings, intake information, and then change how you're playing according to the information that you're taking in. We'll talk more about that later on.
Yeah, it's one of the things I have a issue with, a struggle with rather, is knowing when to go out and fight, because I'm not trying to be that DPS Moira.
Yep. Which, of course, you don't always, it's like I said before, it's more about like 50-50. You're not always going to want to damage, but then you're also not always going to want to just be holding down the healing. You have to find a nice balance in between. So you haven't used Cole in a few fights. Coalescence is not an ultimate that you want to hold on to, and the more ultimates that you pump out means the more kills you're getting, the more fights you're winning, and then the more games you're winning. So probably want to be using it more at the beginning of fights, because if you wait until people are dying, then that means that either you already won the fight and you don't need it, or they already won the fight and you shouldn't use it.
Okay.
So remember, beginning of fights, you're holding on to it to where already 3 people have died, so now you don't even want to use it.
Yeah.
So next time your team groups up and they start pushing forward and you see the enemy team, use Coalescence, line some people up.
Okay.
Join with me.
Okay, you can just use your healing orb if somebody's out of your line of sight like that. Okay, remember to make sure your whole team's there. I'm pretty sure you initiated the fight while you still had a few people coming back. So I think your Junkrat had just died. Your Reinhardt, as you saw, just charged back from spawn as soon as you started going in. So you have to make sure you're looking back behind you, paying attention to where is my team ready, can they all come in, and then again, you're not the initiator, you let your tanks go in. You can call.
There seems to be an issue with like getting the team grouped up a lot, at least in my experience.
So that can come through communications, but it can also just be through patience and waiting for them, because you were kind of the problem in that last fight specifically because of the fact that you initiated the fight. You, while people were in spawn still, used coalescence and pushed forward, which meant that your Sigma pushed forward 2 with you. So if you either 1, just waited for them, or 2, you can also communicate the regroup. So if you're competitive and you're using your microphone, you can say, hey guys, we're down people, wait to go forward, that type of thing, regroup, don't peek so that they're not dying, that type of thing. I know that especially the lower you go in ranks, people will stagger a lot more, so they'll be dying after fights are done, which will mean that you have to wait for them. But really the big thing is just patience. Wait for them to come, communicate that to your team, make sure that they're not rushing out. Just while you're in queue real quick, I'm going to stream some Overwatch. Let me know when you get in a game. It's gonna be on Discord. I just said okay. One more. So we're gonna go just so that you can visualize this. So when you heal somebody, we're gonna watch their health. They get heal over time effect, so their health is still going up, even though I tapped them a couple seconds ago. So if you tap somebody, they still get the healing afterwards. So if we utilize that, and if they're full HP, we can heal them, but then at the very end of their HP bar, we can just let go and heal somebody else. So we, remember also, you can heal multiple people by lining them up. You heal both of these, but then once this bot gets up pretty high, we stop healing, just let it go. And then if you're over here damaging people and you're just trying to keep your team up real quick, you can tap, look away, damage, tap them, look away, damage. So you're gonna be doing that a lot more. I'd like to see that a lot more. Is just tap healing. You're just gonna tap them real quick and then go and do something else, and then you tap them again, and then if you see that they're low, then you can heal them up a little bit more, and then again, once they're at the very top of their health, then you stop and let it go.
Okay.
Trying to think if there's anything else. Again, let me know when you get in the game.
Just got in the game.
All right.
Welcome to 3, 2, 1. Round 1. Capture the objective.
Changing position. I'm under attack. Allow me to repair the damage. I'm restoring you. This will heal you.
Lock on my target. The objective is now on the objective. Flight routine.
Allow me.
Target down.
Pass this forth. This will restore you.
Remember, not walk in front of your team, because when you do that, then you can see if they need your healing.
Okay.
Coalescence.
Surrender to my will.
Just remember, keep an eye on that bar. As soon as you get it, you can start using it, because now you're swinging the fight just by the coalescence.
Touch from afar. I'm restoring you. Not good.
Okay, so, do you mainly play Moira? Like, is that your main hero?
On support, yes.
Okay.
I'm starting to get a little bit into Lucio now and Bat, but mainly Moira.
Yep, so big things that fight is just make sure that, again, you're not, even if you are damaging, make sure that you're not stepping in front of your team, because then you can't see if something is happening behind you. And when you are in front of people, make sure that you're paying attention to who is behind you. Did somebody go on my back line? Did one of their flankers go on our back line?
Okay.
into position. I require a...
Yep, I think the same thing happened there again. Was you were
Guy in
behind your tanks, but you were also still in front of 3 other people on your
We
team.
must all make sacrifices.
So make sure that you're near the back of the pack.
All right.
This will heal you.
If you see the monkeys about to take damage, just throw that orb in there. Don't hesitate with it. So now we have another Cole coming up for this fight. We're going to be looking to use it as soon as our tanks push forward and take space.
Surrender to my will. The power of destruction. Restoring you. Help me. Tell me.
Okay, I'd say pretty good fight. Make sure that if you're trying to keep on the fighting, to not get close enough to let them kill you. But then at the same time, I'd probably recommend stopping the fight there because they're winning the fight.
Okay.
They had more people alive, which means that right now this is probably a staggering fight right now. I'll talk in a second about how to know if fights are won or lost.
Get into position.
Okay.
I will unmake you.
Adjusting angle.
Barrier in place. Pass into the claiming the objective.
Yeah. Feel like I got in front of my team a little bit again there.
Yep. Okay, so when you have one pick, that is an advantage. When you are down from one person, that's a disadvantage. If you have 2 people up, you got 2 kills, or you got 3 kills and they got 1 kill, you're up 2. That's a 1 fight unless you're involving ultimates, overtime, maybe it's last point on 2 CP, something like that. So unless you have to fight the fight, or they have to fight the fight, that's a 1 fight, and you shouldn't use any more ultimates, and you should just push in aggressively and clean up the fight. If you're down 2 people, it's the same thing, except for they won the fight. If you're down 2 people, and you don't, and it's not like overtime, or it's not like second point, you're on defense, like, so you have to stall it on 2 CP map. So unless it's mandatory that you still play the fight, back off and regroup, because if you're going in while you're down 2 people, then you're gonna just lose that fight, and then you're gonna be staggering the whole time because they have the advantage, and that's what happened last map. So you communicate that with your team, say no ults, we lost, back up, something like that, so that they all know to regroup and get out.
Alright.
And to also not commit ultimates to a fight that you already won or you already lost.
System health compromised.
Injured again.
Okay.
Such a flawed creation.
Make sure you're putting yourself with the big bulk of your team. So if your monkey's pushing forward aggressively and he's going in, make sure that you're in a position to be able to help him.
Heal you.
Okay.
Lock on my target.
The power of destruction. I claim this objective. Stand with me.
Okay, rather than trying to
Carry out.
right-click and damage tanks, maybe you go for more support. So unless you're low resource meter, you're just trying to get your resource meter up. If you're just trying to put out damage, you don't have a whole lot of high burst damage. So going for lower health targets is going to be the way to go. So rather than trying to right-click the hog for a long period of time, go for like the Zenyatta or Ana, like you have been doing, or the Echo. You're really good anti-Echo because you have a decent bit of range and you can kill her very easily while she's in the sky.
Surrender to my will.
Adaptive circuits engaged. Tracer.
There was a flaw in my approach.
Okay. We can just see through the wall right here. We already lost that fight. We could maybe try to run out the stall, but we could also just stay back and not die. We couldn't get the ult charge, so we'd really only be stalling like an extra 2 seconds if we tried to go in there. So just when you come back into a fight, always look at how the fight's going through the walls, watch the kill feed, see are we winning or are we losing, or is it kind of even. Remember, when people are critical, just hard heal them. So when you see people are low HP, always pay attention to the health bars. That's when you should be keep on healing them. Don't tap heal. Keep the stream flowing.
Get into position.
Again, position yourself to where you're with the main bulk of your team. If you have 2 people on the left, you need to be on the left, not down main.
Alright. And we got this Lucio going in 1v6.
Okay, so in this fight, we're down 3 people. When you're down 3 people, you probably don't want to be healing your teammates. You can damage people to get in some extra ult charge, but if you're healing your teammates like Zarya there, then that means that you're just staggering yourselves because you're keeping yourselves alive longer. So that means that you're going to be coming back to the fight while your team's already fighting the fight. So if we're just watching through walls here, they're probably going to start walking forward and fighting before we even get back, which means that you staggered yourself, and you have to try to, when you see that you're down a whole bunch of people, try to die as fast as possible.
This will restore you. You seem in need of aid.
Coalescence. Pay attention to your ult meter, that'll let you know. And if someone's in a trance like that, probably focus on a different target. You're not going to be able to kill a hog while he's being tranced, even if he's in a grab. So therefore, look for something else to focus on, maybe that's not in the radius of the trance. But big thing is just make sure you're paying attention to being aware of what's around your surroundings. So watch kill feed, watch your abilities, watch your ultimate meter, watch your health, and this is going to be something that you just glance at every couple of seconds, or you just see out the corner of your eye. But you always want to be paying attention to that, just so you know the information, because if you know that you're 90 on Coalescent, then you can just be holding down right click on some people, or left click, and then be spamming Q so that as soon as you get Coalescence, Coalescence comes up.
Okay.
Because you don't want to be having Coalescence for a good 5-10 seconds before you're using it, because then you could have had it 5-10 seconds earlier when it could have mattered during that time.
Alright. Yeah, I always think more conservative with Coalescence. Like, especially when the team's going into a fight and I see him like half health, that's when I try to pop it, but I'll start doing it earlier.
Yep, if you do it, you have to think of ultimate like Coalescence. It's not a defensive ultimate, so you can't, it's not like Transcendence or Beat, so you can't counter other ultimates with it. You're not going to be able to stop like a blade with Coalescence, so it is helpful to give yourself movement speed and you can stop a blade with it. You can't stop a nano blade with Coalescence. It's not a defensive ultimate. You don't want to use it to counteract other ultimates. So typically you're going to want to use it offensively and use it to push forward aggressively, because you're not going to be able to out heal any damage that they're putting in. So instead you use it aggressively when the fight's first starting, because that's just how the ultimate works. I am spectating you now.
Okay.
Traveling to Horizon.
Oh, this map.
At least it was taken out of competitive.
Yeah. I was really happy to hear that. So is Moira is she a viable character higher up in the ranks, like Masters, Grandmasters, or?
So she'll be played once in a while, and she has had her metas, but right now I'm pretty sure that Ana's just a better pick, because of kind of her power level and the usage she gets out of her abilities. She's just a better character.
Incoming in 30 seconds.
I mean, overall, if you look at the healing that Moira can output, I just don't understand why that's not
My
a
power
character that's
Because-
ranked that much higher up.
Because healing is not the only thing that you need, and most of the time you don't even need that much healing because of the fact that people aren't going to be constantly taking damage. Nade and Sleep and Nano are kind of much more powerful abilities than Moira has in her toolkit, even if she does heal more. So that's
Okay.
why Ana be played over Moira most of the time.
No need to mess
Because
about.
that healing difference isn't really going to matter in the long run if you can hit your shots on Ana and be healing people, all while getting out that other value
Than
too.
we are.
Yeah.
This will improve your condition. This will heal you. I'm under attack.
Okay, now we're low resource. Main goal should be to get resource back. Make sure that you are putting yourself in like around cover while you're healing people. You're paying attention to where enemies are. If you see people are coming up the stairway, probably don't want to go meet them as a solo Moira. So it's good that you fade it out, but you probably don't want to put yourself in that situation to start off.
Yeah.
Remember to pay attention to your surroundings. Don't just solely focus on damage, because if you're doing that, then you don't see people dying in your backline, and you don't see the McCree on the high ground about to kill you.
New beginning.
So,
Yeah, I did not see that guy popping.
okay, so for next fight, we should be thinking in our heads. We have Coalescence. We're probably going to want to use it pretty early on. If we
Okay.
have critical targets, we can heal them up on our team, but then also we can try to focus down some of their squishies that they have.
Allow me to repair the damage.
Get an orb here and throw an orb out with it.
Surrender to my will. I'm under.
Okay, so even if you're calling, I probably wouldn't recommend peeking if 4 people are staring out of a BAP window, because you're gonna get melted very fast.
Get into position.
If you see a McCree running straight at you, that probably means that he is gonna flashbang you. So
Yeah.
if a character that has a stun is running at you or is looking at you, you can just try to fade out to dodge the stun. Other thing, just remember again, is like I was talking about before, Coalescence. Don't just peek it unopen. As the kind of big thing is, even if you're using your ultimate, if they have a superior ultimate that's kind of out there, then don't try to challenge it.
Okay.
Your power is mine. Reinvert Boher. This will restore you. Tell me how this feels. A touch from afar. I require assistance.
So during that fight, you were super far away from your team the entire time, and while you're damaging, you have to remember that you need to be trying to make your way back over to your team so that you can heal them, because you didn't output any healing that fight because of where you were positioned. So position yourself near your team. If you're not in a position to heal your team, then you need to try to make your way over to be in a position to heal your team. Because remember, it's going to be around 50-50. We can't solely focus on damage.
Gotcha.
Generating your cellular structure.
Mercy in Bereitschaftsdienst.
Allow me to repair the damage. I'm under attack. I'm restoring you. This will restore you. I will draw the strength from your body. Surrender.
Okay, so that coalescence is pretty late because again you weren't paying attention to it.
Yeah.
And if you're paying attention to it frequently, then you'll spot it when it's at 90% rather than spotting it 10 seconds after you have it. So if you spot it when you're close to it rather than spotting it after you already have it, then that's going to give you a lot more information that you can work with. Again, look, you just got insta-melted by one tap by McCree and someone else shot you as well, which just meant that you instantly got melted. A lot of the time when you are healing people, you're not really paying attention to your like kind of paying attention to your positioning. So, oh, I've been streaming this whole time. I didn't even notice. But look over at Discord real quick. We're just gonna talk about that real quick.
Okay.
So when you're healing people, a lot of the times you don't really pay attention to your surroundings, so you'll just kind of see them low, you'll run straight at them while healing them, and you're not even going to be looking behind you while there's enemies looking all, like, 3 people staring at you from behind, and you're just not even paying attention to them while you're healing your team. You need to make sure that while you're healing your team, you're putting yourself in good positions. So using cover, because if you're behind cover like this, then you're not taking damage from enemies and they can't see you. And then when you're trying to get damage in, then you can peek around the cover, come back behind cover, peek around cover, come back behind cover. So if we're standing in a position like this, this is gonna positioning that applies to every character in the game. If you're standing right here and this is an enemy shooting at you, it takes you 1, 2, 3 seconds to get behind here, assuming you don't have fade. So that is bad positioning. Or it might, if you are in that position, it also could force you to use fade, which is again something you don't want to do. You don't want to have to waste your fade. So you don't want to be standing out in the open. You want to be standing next to cover, because if we're standing right here, it takes us half a second duck beyond cover. Okay, so this is much better positioning. If we're standing here, then we're standing here. Okay, so use walls, use cover like that. You can use things like this, just get out of line of sight. Use pillars, use objects, use anything you can get solid that you can duck behind. So again, rather than holding here, you hold over here. Rather than holding here, you can hold down here, or you can hold up here, because it's gonna take less time to get behind cover.
Okay.
Okay, you can go ahead and get in a queue, and if you weren't already.
I'll go ahead and queue up.
Welcome to Junkertown.
With every death comes honor. With honor, redemption.
Get into position.
Attackers incoming in 30 seconds.
Think you can keep up with me? Alright, game face on.
Five, 4, 3, 2.
Okay, typically on most maps, you're going to want to try to launch an orb directly at spawn, immediately after doors open, because that'll get you a good bit of ult charge. To see, if you look at your bar, you're already at 15%. So if you're doing that every single time, then you're going to be getting your first ultimate 15% faster.
This will heal you, restoring you. Your strength fades.
Okay, so 2 times in a row, you threw the healing orb when they were like 1 HP. You need to make sure that if you, because it takes a second of a delay to throw the orb, and then that time they don't have healing. So when you're throwing orb, you need to make sure that they're above that threshold where they won't die if you throw it. So both times with I think Diva and Ball, they were both like 1 HP when you threw it, which you can't throw it when they're 1 HP. You have to just keep healing them. If they're not 1 HP and they're just critical, then you can throw the orb.
Adaptive circuits engaged. Hanzo.
Strength flows. Regenerating your cellular structure.
Okay. Coalescence, and then other thing would be make sure that you're trying to bounce orbs off walls. So not necessarily damage orbs, but healing orbs especially, because if you launch it straight forward, it's gonna heal people for a little bit and then you just go off into nothingness in space. But if you bounce it off of a wall, then you have more time where it's actually healing people.
Allow me.
Got it.
Looking for me.
Help me. Get into position.
Flight routine activated. The payload has reached the checkpoint.
I'm restoring you.
In here. Огонь по готовности.
Allow me to repair the damage.
Focus my target.
That changes my thinking.
Need healing.
Group up with me.
Adaptive circuits engaged. Wrecking ball.
Good job with the bounce there. Remember, coalescence, you don't want to be holding on to it if the fight has already started. You can throw a damage orb through that to just damage all of them all at once. You can help melt them really fast.
Injured again.
Get some high ground and throw out coal. Oh, nobody even here.
Okay. Make sure you're not doing nothing for extended periods of time, like that 5 seconds. You just stood there looking at the fight. Make sure if your team's fighting in a room that you're not at, fade over to the room so you can help.
See through the dragon's eyes.
Got it. Yeah, I was kind of worried about that Zen popping me as soon as I poked out.
Yep, you can also just fade over so that you're skipping the time where you're out in the open.
Enemy
Yeah.
target located. Locking on. Surrender to my will.
Okay. Probably want to let them walk forward a little bit more, because when they're that far away, then they have the opportunity to just back away and you don't get a whole lot of value, and it also means that your team won't be able to get a whole lot of damage into them because the fight had just started. So you're right to start at the beginning of the fight, but you have to wait for the fight to actually start, not while the fight hasn't started.
Okay.
So wait till they're in no man's land where they can't run away.
I'm restoring you. The power of destruction. Strength.
When somebody's won and they're close to you, add in a melee, because that'll finish them off faster with a little bit of burst damage.
Okay.
That's much better. This will heal you.
You see the
I should have faded.
fade, exactly. see those, you fade, and then it doesn't do damage to you. Same with like a pulse. Sticky bombs won't damage you if you fade out of it.
The payload has
Yeah, I just choked up there.
Get into position. My power grows. Allow me.
changing position. Enemy radar contact.
You needed a doctor?
Not good.
A touch from afar.
Moving up.
Surrender to my will.
Duplication initiated. Don't worry. I will shield you.
Kind of the ledge.
Okay, so rather than having to swap between our team, their team, our team, their team with our Cole, we want to line them up with our bodies. So we move to the right, line it up so that we're hitting all of them at the same time, or as many as we can at the same time. And then that way we don't have to swap between one and the other if we just line it up. So make sure that you're positioning your body so that you're lining up as many people as possible. Don't just stand in one place and swap between people. Move yourself so that you're moving into position.
I will unmake you.
Okay, good. That was a good play there.
This will restore you.
Good job securing the kill and then getting away too.
Moving up.
But remember, you should not be the one engaging. You shouldn't be on the front line. Look at where your team's at. Look around you. Your team was a mile away from you. If you tried to go in then, you would have died.
Activating self-destruct sequence.
Into the iris.
Okay, now we're up 2. This is a one fight. Unless they now just get picks, we've pretty much already won this. Okay, so probably don't want to fade backwards there because now you're out of the fight. When you have an advantage, you want to be more aggressive. So take space, take positioning, because if they have less people, then they have less people to punish you for when you push aggressively.
Okay.
Adaptive circuits engaged. Reaper. Personality duplication.
Right. Remember, sending out open. You're not, when you're healing people, you're forgetting where you're positioned, and then that's meaning that you're opening yourself up to spam damage, and then also something like a shatter.
Yeah.
Perhaps a new methodology.
Okay, coming out with Cole. Keep that in mind. Make sure you're paying attention to that.
All right.
Since our team's still regrouping, we probably don't want to fade in that far. So make sure you're just not going that aggressive. And again, sending on the open, didn't use our orb, and then we ran into a wall with our fade. Just all things that add up into early death like that. Coming out with Cole. Remember, we have that.
Taking off. The payload is approaching.
Surrender to my will.
Duplicating Reinhardt.
Okay, good job. Again, just make sure that maybe you're lining up your team in that too. So if you just position yourself behind a tank on your team, then that means that you're getting all that healing in on them as well as the damage in as well, because you can just kind of rotate around that person. So just pick somebody who's low, rotate around them, do damage, and then if you need to push forward, you can. I'm not saying you have to hard stick on them, but that'll work really well if you're just trying to get healing in at the same time.
Enemy radar contact.
This will heal you.
Executing fight. Adaptive circuits engaged. Zenyatta. 30 seconds.
I will draw the strength from your body.
Victory is our destiny, but we must all play.
Really good job with the top healing and paying attention to the fact that they were full HP. And they didn't need healing, so you looked away from them.
Moving up.
Good job.
Thanks.
I am unstoppable. Activating.
10 seconds.
Strength flows.
Okay. We are very close to Coalescence. That needs to be what we're working at right now. Unfortunate. That was kind of a series of unfortunate events, but just remember that when you're 90 and Cole, it's last fight of the game. We're losing the fight. That's kind of our only possible winning condition is if we get a big coalescence up on board. So your main goal is to get coalescence as fast as possible and then use coalescence.
Okay.
Okay, stall out cart.
Uh,
Of course, it's still very unlikely that you win the fight, but even if it's a 1% chance that you win that after you contest it, that means that after 100 games, you're going to have that one time that you win. If it's a 5% chance, then it's going to be 120 games. So just remember, just because it's unlikely doesn't mean that it can't happen. So go ahead and contest anyways.
okay.
It's a good habit to have because then you're increasing your chances of winning the fight or potentially stalling out time. So if it wasn't overtime there and you're in a competitive game and let's say they have 4 minutes and they're about to cap it, if you stall that out and then your team comes out and they stall it and then you get a good stall going where you're each coming out and dying on point, then that means that you can knock off a minute of their time and still have the potential to win the fight. So you're one, giving yourself the potential, your team the potential to win it, and two, you're stalling out time. So now that they have less time after you cap the 3 minutes, so it gives yourself a better chance of winning the game.
Okay.
I am spectating.
Now entering King's Row.
Stick to the plan, and if you get into trouble, I'll bail you out.
Attackers incoming in 30 seconds.
I live for a good fight.
This will heal you.
Don't get cold feet now.
Get off the stage.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
Yeah, remember, damage orbs faster than that. Just you're getting the damage in, and then you'll have your orb again by the time they actually reach you. Okay, somebody's purple. Focus on other things. You can't heal them for a good couple of seconds, so don't even attempt to. At the very end of the purple, like, you know, purple's about to fade away, you can hold healing on them so that you're getting healing them as soon as it ends. But if they're just recently purple, make sure that you're not staring at them with healing, because then you're not doing anything.
Okay.
Touch from afar.
And remember, if you're just healing people, move off to the side so that you're not taking damage. If you're damaging people, make sure you're behind tanks.
Reality bends to my will.
Help me. Restoring you.
Okay, so immediately after immediately after seeing that Ryan's dead, or immediately after seeing that he's pulsed, back away, because assuming that he's going to die from the pulse, back away so that you're not out in the open. And then the other thing was, I think it was just don't stick around, because after he's, oh, maybe I already said that. I forgot my second thing. My bad.
Oh, good.
Go. Make sure you're paying attention to that. Pay attention to when you have it. Pay attention to situations where you can use it. You don't want to be holding on to it if it's a winnable fight. Ryan lands a big shatter. Unless he landed that shatter, you probably didn't want to use it because you were coming in with less people. But because he landed the big shatter, if you follow that up with a coalescence, then it means that you win the fight.
Okay.
So you can put conditions on ultimates as well. Think. Ooh.
Say what?
You can put conditions on ultimates, such as I will use this coalescence if we get killed, or I'll use this coalescence if Ryan lands a big shatter. But unless he landed that big shatter, coalescence probably wouldn't be a smart idea because you were still down like 2 or 3 people.
I will draw the strength from your body.
You have my thanks.
I will rebuild you.
Okay, 80 on coal. Keep that in mind. So we're close to it. If the fight's still going on by the time we use it and we need it, then we can keep that in mind and use it. At this point, we probably don't need it because we have the Reinhardt and they're not pushing. But when they do start pushing in, then we can probably throw a coal out.
Okay.
When you see Trista blinking in your backline like that, just make sure that you're glancing at your backline real quick so that you can see if your backline needs support or help. Okay, good call. Good usage of orb and ducking behind cover when you saw the McCree.
Kindly adjust.
At this point, we can probably throw another damage orb once we see that they're coming out of spawn, so that we can get some spam damage in before the fight starts. Because by the time the fight actually starts and we need it again, we'll have orb.
Injured again.
Okay, we ran out of resource, which means that we're not damaging enough, or we're healing too much and we're wasting our resources. So typically you're not gonna, like, good Moira players will be very in control of the resources and will make sure that they're not running out of them very often, unless it's in a situation where it's impossible to get damage done. But if you're staring at a Rhine shield, you're not going to get anything off the Rhine shield, so maybe look for somebody else that you can damage. So is there a flanker? Is the Pharah in this guy? Can I see the Pharah? And then also just remember to be in control of tap healing and making sure that you're not wasting all of your healing before you get into the fight.
Okay.
You seem in need of aid. Surrender to my will. This will heal you.
Okay, remember, make sure that you're not you are not the one initiating the fight with the coalescence. You're waiting for the fight to start by your tanks, and then you're coalescing, because you don't want to be pushing ahead of your team to do that, because then something like that happens where you're taking a lot of damage, Kree goes on the flank, gets you because you don't have tanks in front of you.
Okay.
This will heal you.
Good usage of Fade and your heal orb, because a lot of your teammates are critical. There.
Kree.
Yep, Kree on the flank. Make sure that you're paying attention. Keep in mind now that this has happened twice. This is just things that you'll have to keep in check every single game. Is this Kree likes to flank? He's gone on flanks twice, and he's almost killed me, or he has killed me twice. Has he killed? Did he kill you the first time? No. He didn't. He didn't?
No, he
No,
flanked me,
didn't.
and then I got away.
Yeah, so keep in mind that this McCree likes to flank, therefore you pay attention to the flanks, you listen to the flanks, you watch the flanks, and then that way you're surviving longer. You can do the same thing as if you know that they have flanker characters, so they have a Tracer, they have a Genji, you watch the flanks. There again, taking a lot of spam damage because you're out in the open. Make sure you're standing next to corners and whatnot so that you're not just getting spammed out, which is what happened that fight.
Yeah.
Coming into next fight with a coalescence, we're looking to use that pretty early.
Regenerating your
But
cellular
again, not so early that they can back away, and not so early that our tanks aren't even pushed forward yet.
Okay.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
I will rebuild you.
Nerf this. Rains from above.
Allow me to repair the damage.
Okay. Rather than fading over to cover, you can actually just
Restoring you.
fade to dodge out the bomb. So fade as soon as the bomb explodes, and that way you're not putting yourself super out of position, because your Ryan went forward, and that meant that when you faded backwards, you weren't in a position to help your Reinhardt. So maybe instead, just stay in the same place you were at with your fade, because you can fade without moving.
Okay.
So
We must all make sacrifices in the name of science. Allow me to repair the damage.
remember, you can use fade to get over to people. So watch your fade cooldown. You did have fade when your Ryan died, so you could have faded over to him to potentially keep him alive there.
What's this? Time to raise my APM. Kicking off.
Thanks.
Help me! Repairing the damage. My will made. I will surrender to my will.
Probably would have called a second sooner than that, which would have guaranteed the kill on the Curry, so make sure you're not hesitating on it. Cole will do
Okay.
more damage than your just normal right click, so if you're trying to kill the Cree there, Coalescence is a very valid way to do that.
Your power is mine.
Biotic field activated.
60 seconds remaining. I feel
Thank you.
This will improve your condition.
go to sleep.
Allow me to repair the damage. I am under attack. This will heal you.
Nerf this.
Okay, remember, save the fade for when the bomb is exploding, not...
No, I was fading to get out of the Ryan charge.
Okay. So then, once you saw that he charged your Ryan, you probably don't want to go out into the open again, because that means that you don't have any shield or any cover to protect you. And then again, just remember, stand behind cover, because you did take a lot of damage just from that coal that happened very early.
Okay.
10 seconds remaining.
Surrender to my will.
Right, just want to let you know that a good habit that you do have is you do use your orbs before you use your coalescence, which is a very good habit to have, because that means that you're getting the ability out before you're using it, and then it's going to be charging while you're using it. So that's something good you've been doing, and I've noticed you've been doing that. This pretty much wraps up our time for the session. I'm going to stop the recording now. So